Alright, today we're going to be doing a tutorial on how to change the vehicle speed sensor on a 2015 Toyota Corolla. I believe the compatible years for this car are a 2013 to a 2016, I believe. Don't quote me on that. It could be 2017, 2018 as well, but I'm not for sure. It is pretty specific to the, I believe it's the 11th series. So what I've already done so far is I have removed the air filter. They're all held in by, there's 3 bolts, 10 millimeter there, and loosened the screws on here and removed the air filter, moved it out of my way. Moved the air filter, of course, disconnected the positive battery, so that way we don't have any electrical current running through since we are dealing with an electrical component. I apologize ahead of time for the shaky video. It is 29 degrees out and I am freezing to death. So after I've gotten all of this stuff out, I have gone down here. This right here is the vehicle speed sensor A. I've already disconnected the harness from it, and supposedly it's supposed to just pop out real easy. We'll see. You can do this from the underside as well, but I have found that sometimes it's easier to go from above. It might have been a little bit more labor intensive getting everything out and putting everything back together, but it makes it easier this way. The clip was a bit finicky. Be gentle with it so you don't pull the 2 little wires that are there out, because then you're going to have a much bigger issue than you had to begin with. There is also another vehicle speed sensor down below, but that I believe is B. This is vehicle sensor A. My car was throwing the code P0500, which came back as vehicle sensor A, speed sensor A. My dash had the check engine light, obviously, ABS, traction control, brake, and the power steering light on as well. My gas gauge works intermittently, and my odometer and speedometer are not working at all. So that is the gist of how to tell from the word go. I wouldn't suggest driving it unless you have to. I did drive this from my house to the store to get the part, and then to the yard where I'm working on it at. So as a kind of an overview so you can kind of see where I'm at. Here's the engine. The cover is off. This is where your air filter was, literally right here. Pull that all off, and it's literally right here, right at the end of your transmission. I am going to see if I can get this pulled out pretty easily, and we'll see where I go from here. I will turn the camera around to try to see if I can get it in here. Apologize for the audio on this. I don't know how easily this is going to come out, so I might actually have to pause and restart once I get it out. One thing I did forget to mention is that there is a 10 millimeter bolt that's down below here that does hold this in place. So I'm going to have to take that bolt off, and then I'll be back. Okay, so now I've got the old one out. Don't be slow like me and have the wrong 10 millimeter, because it will not work with the long extended. You need a stub or snub 10 millimeter to get in there. I did not have that, so I had to fight. As you pull it out, you will see that there's transmission fluid on it. There should be transmission fluid on it anyhow. You can kind of smell it, see if it's burnt, kind of give you an idea of the health and safety of your transmission as well. Mine is clear, still pretty in red, no real worry there. It is kind of gunky and it is burnt up on the end, so definitely an issue. I don't know if you can see it there, but definitely an issue. And I also had some cracks on the side there, so I'm sure that those are all good reasons for it to have thrown the codes. I am now going to put the fresh one back in. Of course, I'm going to check, because this one seems a little bit wider than the other one. So I'm going to hope that these are, it's going to work. This one does look a little bit different. It is aftermarket, so I'm really hoping that it fits in there correct. But that's what I'm about to find out right now. Okay, so I've got it bolted back in. It did fit in and it did seal nicely. You want to make sure you do not over tighten this or you will crack the housing on the sensor, and in turn it will probably fail very quickly. So make sure you do not over tighten it. You want it tight enough that it's going to hold it in there, but don't over torque it, so that way you're not cracking that housing that's holding it in there, or else it's just going to fail and fall out. Okay, as you can see, I slapped it back on. The wiring harness is back on there. It's on there good and snug. The little clip, make sure again when you're taking this clip off, it presses in. It does not pull out. So don't pull out on it unless you're replacing the whole wiring as well. So you want to make sure you press in and just gently work it out. If it doesn't, take a little bit of a screwdriver, flat tip, just kind of push it up on a little bit. But again, be careful. It's plastic. The last thing you want to do is crack one of these connectors. They're not cheap to replace, unfortunately. Okay, so now I'm reassembling the air filter. Obviously, you got your bracket back here, which I think I forgot to talk about taking off in the beginning, but there's this bracket with the 10mm bolt there. And I'm going to put the remaining 3 bolts in here. Make sure they're lined up. I'm also going to wipe out the air filter canister here and shake out my actual air filter, because there's some gunk in there that I didn't realize was in there. I guess I should be checking that more often. Oftentimes we think with a newer vehicle we forget about simple things, especially when we're used to older vehicles that give us a headache when simple things like air filters are bad. Newer cars just make everything blow up when everything's bad, so we forget about simple things. Yes, I'm being lazy with the ratchet, but I'm not getting it to seat properly, so. And my fingers are frozen, to say the very least. All right. Again, you don't want to over tighten these, just in the sheer fact it is plastic and we're not trying to crack the plastic. I know you guys are going to look at this and give me massive grief about how I'm doing this. But I apologize ahead of time. I'm being lazy. I'm just trying to get it done. I've missed 3 days of work with this car being down, and I'm frozen because I couldn't find this part anywhere. It's a very difficult part to find if you're not ordering it online and you need it right away. So I did find it at O'Reilly's, but it is import direct, so Advanced Auto will not carry it, cannot get it. I don't know about Napa or Pet Boys or any of those other places. They probably would be able to get it a heck of a lot easier than I was able to. I need a new air filter. We're not gonna even talk about how nasty the air filter is. So that'll be my next trip, is to go get a new air filter. And I despise Corolla's system for their filter because 18 million clips and none of them seem to connect the right way. But you got that clip there. You got this one here, which on mine doesn't connect for whatever reason. And I think it's because I have the wrong filter in here, but that would have been the filter that came in from the dealership, so ain't no telling. And then we're gonna reconnect this. I wish there was a better way to prop all of these phones without throwing it on the ground. So we're reconnecting, and then I gotta screw those back down. So once I get that put back together, I'll be back with you guys shortly. Okay, so everything's back on. Make sure when you put this one on, when you retighten this one down, that you don't have the screw down below this hip here. You can push it down a little bit, but if it hits these hoses, you're gonna puncture them. Did it once before when I had to take it off and I had to replace this hose, and it was a big mess. And then anybody has any suggestions or tips of where to find this battery post at, that would be great. Nobody here has it in North Carolina, so I'm stuck with scrapyard ones that are better than what was on here. The car had been involved in an accident, and so I believe that the mechanic who did the work, he tried to hide the fact that he had swapped it out on me and left me with a broken one. So, or he broke it when he put it back on, so I had to go to the scrapyard and get replacements for both negative and positive, both of which were pretty rusty crusty. I've been using Diet Coke on them to keep them from getting corroded, but I can't find them new anywhere. Nobody seems to have them. So leave it in the comments if you know any place that's got the positive funky wonk cable post. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is clean up all my mess, and I am going to try and start this bad boy and see if this fixed the problem. Fingers crossed. Okay, so problem here. Still have all my lights, but my odometer is working. My gas gauge is now working. I still do have all the other lights on, so we're gonna see. I can see my trip now, which I couldn't before. Still can't see my MPG or my miles. So I guess I don't know what the next thing to do is. I guess drive it for a little bit and see if that clears it out. Fingers crossed that that works. I'll turn it off. I guess unless I do the paperclip trick and try to reset it that way. But she starts right up. But all the lights are still on. So, epic fail on my end. Guess we'll move on to the next speed sensor.